All right, yeah, once again, we're at Behind the Mask. We got Jason David Frank, formerly known as the Green Power Ranger, and now he's just an all-around awesome, hard-working guy, man. You got a lot of stuff going on between the MMA stuff. You got your dojos. You're making appearances all around the country, especially lately. You just hit the New York City Comic-Con. I'm wanting to hear how that went down. I think you got Wizard World right around the corner, too, which that one's a stellar lineup. And you got your clothing line, too, which is incredible.
Yep. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. I've pretty much been a lot of different places. I think out of all the Power Rangers I've been, everyone, with the green, the white, the red, the black, I think green happens to be most people's favorite, I think, just because it was the first one. And, I embraced that character. It was my first job in the big time stuff. And, so I've been traveling and booked New York Comic-Con. I got to first thank all the fans, though. I mean, Facebook is blown up. I got the Jason and Frank official fan page is all I have. Any social media, that's the only one that I post. And I try to spend about 2 hours a night trying to get back to everybody, at least a single post and stuff like that. And I want to thank the fans, first of all, for, making everything happen from the show and, from the conventions and all that stuff. I'm just happy and blessed to have so many good fans, and they're loyal, too. I mean, they'll come back and see me again. And so I think that's like to thank all the fans for New York Comic-Con, because that was a pretty big deal, having all those people in line, and I worked about 8-9 hours straight. I was originally booked for 1 hour. And so it was a pretty big thing, and I'm just happy to have all those fans.
We've caught the videos from these posted from Comic-Con. There was quite a turnout, and I definitely know what you're talking about with the passion there, too. And I wanted to comment on everything you just said and the fact that you're very down-to-earth, and you're so easy to touch base with people, and it seems like you're extremely approachable, which I think is something that's missing with a lot of people, even some of the people that we've talked to. We've hit the convention circuit, and we've had some great experiences, and we've had some not so great experiences. And so I commend you for that.
Me too, man. I consider it to be just like everyone else. And what I mean by that is the celebrity status thing for me is not important. It is to most people. I'm no different than anyone else. I've heard stories from, backstage from Kiss to you name it. I mean, I've just heard stories before, and, it's a hard job. And I think the hardest job for any celebrity or any actor is to remember that one question that they ask you, like, what's your favorite color? I've heard it millions and millions and millions of times, but I don't think people understand and realize that that's their first time asking it. So you have to embrace it just like it was any other question. Oh, yeah, let me tell you, I personally think my favorite color is green, and, I don't answer it like, how many people ask me that question? Yeah, read my post. It's green, man. And I think a lot of people get irritated or frustrated with where they came from. I've been doing this for 20 years, you know what I mean? And each year that goes by, I feel more blessed to have the people that I have, because I don't think a lot of people understands that the fans make things happen. If they want me to do movies, I'm back in movies. They want me back on the show, I'm back in show. They want me to get a WWE contract, I'll get that contract. But the fans are what drives you. But to me, they're not just fans, man. I get a lot of people on the thing, hey, pray for my family, or, I lost my job. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm sorry to hear that. And the only reason I think I am that way is because I wish I met my stars, and I met a lot of them. I'm just not impressed with them. I wish I met, them, and they treated me that way. I wish, my childhood dream or my childhood superstar wasn't what they were. I mean, I love Van Damme, but I didn't like how he acted. So that's why this whole thing between me and Van Damme with TMZ and wanting to fight, he wants to fight, that's why they took it, is just because I loved him. I met him as a person, I was like, ugh, this shatters my dreams, And I just don't want to be like that with people, and I just never have. And I take out my time or the day, just like I got back today, and I'm at my karate school up here in Pearland, and you guys said, hey, you want to do an interview? And I said, yeah. I mean, I'm driving home next 45 minutes right now, but for me to squeeze anything in to maybe make someone's day, maybe someone will hear this video and say, oh, man, I was having a bad day, and you know what, I listened to it, and man, it just made my day. That I can never get tired of that. You know what I mean? It's a good thing for people to say, hey, I know you hear this all the time, but you were my childhood hero, and you're someone I looked up to. Who would be tired of hearing that? You know what I mean? I mean, it's a pretty cool thing, I think. So I have fun on tour all all my conventions. I love making people laugh. I love trying to make fun of it and let me laugh. And we watch these videos, and someone just said that, Robert, who shoots all my, stills and stuff. He's like, man, you have fun. I said, I try to. I think that's what it's all about. I only do things if I have fun. I don't need the money. That's not what it's about. You know what I mean? Time is not money for me. Time was meeting fans. It wasn't just getting through lines to make money. It was meeting fans. I want to meet people. You know, that's why I'm kind of traveling all over. And then Wizard World, obviously picked me up. It's a pretty huge lineup. I'm on headlining on that card. I think I'm pretty excited about it. I just know that my fans will embrace me because I got a lot of competition. That's what I was told about New York, that I might not have a following. I'm only there for an hour, so don't be disappointed if you don't have anybody. And look at that turnout. I was just blessed with that. And since that happened, everybody, it was just one of those things that show, hey, there's a following right now, and the fans love it, and it's 20 years right now next year. And, I embrace it because the fans embrace it. I don't run from my past. I think a lot of people ask that. Do you ever get tired of being stereotyped? I'm not stereotyped. I'm JDF. I'm not stereotyped. I'm the crazy guy painting my hair. I'm the one making you laugh. I'm the one that says whatever I want to say on my panel. That's me. That's just what it is.
I personally vouch for that as well. And I just want to, I'm sorry for interrupting. First off, I want to say the way you act in your videos, it definitely helps calm people down that are maybe super fans, because you're super level, you're joking around, but it is these people that have a connection. Like, I'm not bashful to say I was a big fan growing up, and
right.
Especially I understand why you embraced the Green Ranger, because you were the hot stuff, man. And
yeah,
I remember personally the Christmas that followed the first season. You were the hottest toy. I mean, don't even act like you weren't. You were the one that was hard to get, your action figure. And, I I didn't have exactly the best childhood. I didn't really have a father figure around. And I looked up to you, and I looked up to the Power Rangers. And, I can understand from that generational thing. So what you do is really respectable, and you're just a good role model, too. Because, with the Christian-based clothing line, and just you have a real Christian and moral mentality, and that's definitely respectful. So,
well, I thank you for that, man. I try to walk the walk and talk the talk. I try to stay in shape. I try not to do some of the bad stuff. I'm a role model, and my thing is, I took a role of a superhero. To me, that helped me straighten my life out. It really did. I mean, me and my brother had a bad childhood growing up. I didn't come from money. I was, raised on a piece of property. It was, dark, and we had a mobile home that had no carpet, and we had no electricity, we had no bathrooms, and, these are the things that we didn't have. We had an outhouse. I had to heat up the water, and, when the generator went out, that was it. It was black. We ran out of gas, and that's just what it was. And,
I think he's reading my biography, too.
Yeah, and so it was one of those things that, man, it's hard to say. I think you understand this. You have your show, you interview people, and I think you would agree that it's not for the money. If you even make money, it's one of those things that you're passionate about it. You want to continue it. And when you're passionate about it, your business or whatever else will grow, will fund you to have a living. And I measure success on not how much money you have in the bank. What is success? Do you like what you're doing? Are you happy with it? I've worked with actors before, even on Power Rangers, that never embraced it, hated it. You have a fan come up, they'll be like, don't talk about Power Rangers. I don't want to hear it. Now they're embracing it. But back then, they didn't. And, for me, I was the guy that said, yeah, give me the interviews. But you don't want to do it? I'll do it. Yeah, give me this. I'll do it. Hey, you don't want to do this VIP meet? I'll do it. It was just one of those things, because I think you do it for the passion, and everything else goes. That's any interview that comes out, I look at it, and I'm careful about it, because I've done a few that, I show up on the show, and I'm like, I didn't know this type of show. But I'm there to take it, because I think the word, the message that we try to get out right now for me is that, be passionate about what you do, and you can do anything you want to do. I don't care. You want to be an artist. You want to be, in the music business. You have to chase it. Be persistent. Don't give up. And I'm the kind of guy where I want to do whatever I want to do. My wife knows that. Well, and my whole thing is, like I just bought a 500 SL, and I wanted one ever since I was a little kid. I never got one. I was like, ever since I was a little kid, and that's all she hears me say, but that's the truth. I mean, I skydive, I want to base jump, I want to do this, I want to do that. And for me, it's I can. And even my little girl says that. So that's why I encourage everybody that's out there, that want to do something, just do it. But you got to be persistent, and you can't give up, because it's like running a marathon. You never know how close you are around that corner where that marathon ribbon is. And for me, I think I'm proven to do that. I want to fight, I'll do it. If I want to do this, I'll do it. And like I said, about success or anything else is not, about the money or about anything else. It's about what you, pretty much want to do, in life and how you look at life, I guess. I'm not perfect. I go through my ups and downs, and, everyone. And I think that's what people relate to me to. I'm not just always positive every time. I go through my ups and downs, and, I'm like everyone else. We have our high moments and we have our low moments. But, you're a champion. Once you get knocked down, it's to stand back up again, And I think that's what's important is when you get knocked down mentally, for whatever reason, you have to get back up again, because I'm not a quitter, and I don't think anyone should. We don't tap out. We keep fighting.
Exactly.
Fight.
It's exactly
and that's
what your
the mental part of it,
line. It's the logo of your clothing line. It says it all, man. It's very clever, very right to the point as well.
I've actually got a Power Ranger question for you. My son is 3, and I grew up watching the Power Rangers, and he started watching the Dino Thunder, which is his favorite one, where you're the Black Ranger. He thinks you're the coolest one. Are you going to be involved in the big one that comes out next year, the big 20th anniversary one that they're doing?
Well, here's the thing. I don't think me and Saban were great, but I left Saban, and I think there's this whole hard feeling of a control issue. I'm the one that left. I left when the show was on top for other reasons, not for money. I left for the simple fact is you need to get more pats on the back, and say you're doing a good job. The answer I heard wasn't the answer I wanted to hear. Was I'll just pay you anybody. It's not the money can buy patting on the back. That goes a long way more than money. And it was just an issue. It was a personal thing with me, so I left and all that stuff. But there's no running from how popular my character is. You can look on Facebook, you look anywhere, and I think they're businessmen. They talked to my agent before, my manager, and said, man, if we bring anybody back, it's got to be Jason. Because when we think of Power Rangers, we think of Tommy, And so that's what was talked about it. Because you have to look that I have grabbed 3 different generations. Like you said, you watched it, which means that your mom or dad or whoever went through that with you. Maybe not watched it, but they know about it. They've bought toys. Now you're growing up, and you got your 3-year-old watching it, and you're soon to buy toys, which if you haven't already. So we got 3 generations of fans from my character, and I don't think I can handle a 4th because then I'll be super, super old. But right now we're looking at 3, So yeah, I'm hoping that the fans drive it, and that's what happens. I mean, my fans called Saban, and they called me 2 days later and said, legal department said, look, you got to tell your fans stop calling us, or we can't do business. Our circuit board's lit up with Jason, David, Frank fans. So did you tell everybody stop calling us because we can't do business? And I just knew that the fans, how much they care about me or my character or whatever else, because they bug the heck out of them. And so I don't think as a businessman there's no reason why I don't see that. Personally, if I was a businessman, I would probably take the Green Ranger, and the Tommy character. And I don't look at me as Tommy. I'm like more of a businessman. But take the Tommy character and put him in the Dark Knight series, PG-13. Don't make it too violent for the kids, but hit it for the 20 to 30-year-olds and hit that movie. And I'm doing my own project, which is kind of sort of like that next year, which it's called Aftermath. And it's a pretty good storyline. I'm pretty much in this future movie. I'm playing myself as a superhero of where I came from. That's why it's called Aftermath, without getting sued from anybody. But it's going to be a pretty cool project. So if they don't jump on it, I'm going to do my own independent films and, do what I want to do, because I'm creative and I want to do my creative, ideas and stuff. And, kind of like what I did with the show, Tommy was my character I developed. I brought the karate to the screens and brought the choreography and some of the fight scenes, and that's what I want to do again. I want to do something that makes me happy, and I love filming. And my little girl is so creative, and we came up with a little doll talk episode on
yeah, I saw
Facebook.
the little doll thing she does on Facebook. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, so we have this little doll talk that we do and all that stuff, and you know, so it's been pretty cool. She's actually here right now. Say hi. Hi. That's good.
Hello.
Anyway, but yeah, you know, so we'll see what happens with that. But I'm definitely not one to turn it down. Or like I told you, I don't really do stuff for money. That's not the issue. So if anything's heard about that, that's not the issue. Money for me on Power Rangers was never an issue. I was paid very well, you know, and that's just what it is. So and it was never an issue, nor did I ever ask for it. It just happened to be that because I was passionate about filming. I never went on strike. That wasn't me. If anything, I'll take the leader role if you want to give it to me, I guess, you know. That's what I did.
You're referring to when the original cast had a transition, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have one other. It's not really a Power Ranger question, but I know you're into you train and everything, studying MMA. Have you ever given consideration or contact to being on the UFC's Ultimate Fighter TV show?
Well, here's the thing with UFC, Strike Force, and all this stuff. I got a Strike Force deal. That was a while back, and that was the only thing that was about money, because everything else wasn't. You know, if I'm going to split my face or anything like that, I mean, I thought Showtime, I thought HBO deal. You know, I know what boxers get paid, so I'm thinking, you know, well, I mean, there's going to be some decent money for me to take time off and train and put my face on the line and all that stuff. And, you know, Strike Force offered like $5,000 straight across, no win money, no motivation, no nothing. And to me, that's the time it was about money. I was like, if I split my face, I'm going to spend $25,000 in surgery, you know, and it needs to be a little bit more. But a lot of those fighters don't get paid a lot of money. It's a hard road to the top, much like acting or much like, you know, this con world or this Facebook world. This wasn't just, you know, booking these big cons weren't like overnight. There was a lot of proving yourself. There was a lot of fans coming out. I mean, this was like, this whole Facebook 85,000 fans thing is the last 2 years in the works, for, you know, posting and talking to people. And, you know, so that's kind of what MMA is. So next year, I am going to fight next year. I just need the time. I need 8 weeks of pretty much nothing. No interviews, no appearances and stuff like that. And it's hard for me because everyone just thinks I drop off the face of the planet. But mentally preparing, physically preparing, it's hard. My first fight, you know, we did HD Ned, and I was shooting the shots and lining everything up. I was the main event. I had, you know, thousands of fans show up, wanting me to sign stuff, and walking out ready to fight. And people are saying, hey, can you sign this? Can you sign that? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, I got to get through this fight, you know what I mean? So mentally I was prepared. That's probably why that fight was my worst performance, is because I was on my feet all day. I still won, but still I didn't like the way my performance was in there. But that's kind of what you got to do with martial arts, and it stinks, but, you know, it's a full-time job. And right now with the schools and trying to be a family man and trying to visit my family, my wife, my daughter, and traveling 7 days a week, I am a hard worker, but that's just me. I mean, you know what I mean? That's my personality. And I think because of where I came from, as far as, you know, not having money and all that, made me be a hard worker. I think that, you know, someone that's not born with a silver spoon in your mouth is going to have less trouble and be a more harder worker than, all due respect, someone like Paris Hilton that has a spoon in her mouth, and you see nothing but bad things about her. You know, so I think the people that go through the valleys, to the trenches, that makes it to the top of the mountain, probably appreciate it more, but bring people up with them instead of, like, you know, stomping on people. So I just need that time to train, and, you know, I'll get it. There's going to be a fine line balance between the two. You know, it's hard when I'm going out to shows, and, you know, and it's easy. You know, I mean, I do 10 times the money I make on my stuff. That's not about that, but I don't train. I sign autographs. I meet people. That's an easy life. When you got to train, you're like road work and get punched in the face, which I love training, though. You know, I did it because I loved it, and I just took some time off because of the way that nasty the world was. So as far as UFC and all that stuff, I should. I mean, I don't see why I have the fans to drive it. I have the fans to drive a number. That's what I've been asking the whole time. Give me a Strike Force deal. Give me someone that I can fight, maybe the same celebrity or, you know, a football player. And I just don't think those guys think that I can drive the numbers like anyone else. You know, and I know that I can drive the numbers to show they know who I am. If you promote it and put it on television. Jason David Frank, knowing from everybody, would go, whoa, I could walk into a restaurant and nobody knows me. But the minute it gets out, Jason David Frank, the whole restaurant, and everybody knows that show. And it's one of those things where it has to click to the money people to say, oh, yeah, that makes sense. And, we did random searches. My friend said, man, you could fight more than Kimbo. And I was like, I don't know, man. I'm always, doubting, and I don't know. And they roll down the window, hey, Kimbo Slice? They're like, no. Jason and Frank from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers? Yeah. Oh, is that him? And we did this market test on the streets, and it was true. So I saw, wow, I could drive more fans than Kimbo Slice.
Oh, I'm sure you could, man. Yeah,
I've actually got a really nerd question for you here, because I'm sure you always get asked a quote unquote proud nerd question. When you came on to the show originally, when your character came on, was there any animosity between you and the Red Ranger in real life for kind of
there wasn't really animosity. Here's the thing. I don't know if you guys are obviously into radio. This is a radio show. You're into whatever you film with. I don't know what you guys have, your devices and all. That's like someone coming in and telling you guys, yeah, I got my own radio show. Oh, well, do you record on this? Do you record? Yeah. And they're just totally BSing, and you totally know the whole thing's just a lie. And even Amy said it on No Pink Spandex. Thank God she did. That Austin has wild, wild stories. And I'm a professional martial artist, so I don't like to hear. Martial arts means you have to be humble. It doesn't mean you brag about what you do. And in martial arts, they're called degrees. When you have a degree on your belt, it's called a degree. People ask me if I go to college, and I say, yeah, I got 7 degrees. Oh, my gosh. What do you have 7 degrees in? My black belt. Because that's my college years, is what I've trained 34 years in the last martial arts, and those are my college degrees. But you don't call them tips, and you don't make up stories saying that you kill people in the ring on their birthday. This is why this whole fight thing between me and Austin came out. It came out as a professional, challenge. If you're a fighter and you have, 100 amateur fights like you claim, then just fight. That's what fighters do. So all due respect, as a friend, let's just punch each other in the face in the cage. So that was that's kind of where that whole thing started. So the animosity on a professional level, no. Did he come set and was professional? Yeah. Did he think he was a superstar in the first year? Absolutely. In the first month? Yes. Before we filmed? Yes. These are stories that I hear all the time, about being late on set and, defending this little girl, and he flying sidekicked to dad, and then he got mobbed from fans. It was like the show wasn't even aired. So it was more of an irritation thing than more of an animosity thing. But I'm the type of guy where I'm a pretty nice guy. I've never put him up to the challenge. I never said, BS, you can't do that, and you don't do this, because I don't have time to argue with someone. I've sucked it up for so many years. I've listened. Yeah, cool, wow. Oh, wow, you killed someone on your birthday. Wow, that must suck. I'm not the type of guy to put you up and say, hey, no, you can't. You can't do this, or you can't break that. And some people were, but I never was. So it got to the point where, I heard lately before Power Morphicon, I'm an underground fighter and I fight in Israel, wherever he said. So I was like, cool, I fight. So let's just pound this out. I think it'd be great for fans to watch, Ranger versus Ranger. And it'd be a big draw, and we got backed on it. And, a big organization backed it, and he just never returned my call. And I don't really respect that. I respect the fact to say, nah, I don't want to fight, man. That's okay. But I know he's overseas, and he's doing all this stuff. Would I do a convention with him tomorrow? Yes. Could I control myself? Yes. I don't have any bad blood with him. I just have the animosity towards the karate arts. There's things you just don't say and make up stories. And thank God Amy's never done an interview for years, and she did one with No Pink Spandex. Thank God she said he's a storyteller. So now everyone knows I'm not just, there's no reason for me to be upset at him. To be honest with you, if it was my choice, I would remain the Green Ranger, away from everyone else, and only call me when you need me, because that's a cool character to have. I don't need to be the leader of no group. Just give me my Dragon Zord, let me stay away, let me be a loner, and call me when you need me. That's my character choice. It was not my choice to be the leader. It was the fans' choice, and it's just the way God made it be. Was like, all right, now you're going to be the leader of the show. And I was happy that I was.
I think your actions and your words speak volumes as far as that. Just to we can look at where you're at right now and how hard you work and your output, and I think people should be able to see that you're genuine in that aspect. I mean, I don't know Austin St. John personally. I don't know. I'm sure he's great too, but I see your output, and you're very down to earth, and I respect it. And if it helps your humbleness any, back when there was the whole like Jason and Tommy thing, my mom had the hots for you. I'll just throw it out there.
That's good.
Just throwing it out. It was the only kids show she had no problem watching with us. So
that's funny.
Something for you.
That's funny too, because I talk about those three generations. You do have that. Parents kind of watched it, and their kids grew up and had kids. And even though, like with my daughter, there's shows that she will sit there and watch Disney Channel. So I'm kind of like stuck watching what she has. My wife's like, let's change it. Let's watch the Desperate Housewives. To me, that's just drama. They're like yelling all the time. But then I start watching that show. I got a house full of girls, so she dressed in my hair like Justin Bieber, and we're singing the Justin Bieber songs, and that's just kind of my life, and I kind of go with the flow, And but yeah, that's good. It's good to hear that. And as far as and clear it up with Austin, it just was more of a professional thing. That's what fighters do. Oh, I'll call you out, and then they do, and then everything's fine. I just never got the chance to, like with the Van Damme thing. He really, really, really wants to fight. He wants to be. I know he's older, but I thought, wait, man, let's just do the celebrity fight. And then I didn't hear from him. So, if someone really wants to fight, I just think that it was cool at that time. So it was more of a professional thing. I would totally do, a panel with them. In fact, I might even, sorry for some of the actions I've done or said, but I've never said anything to discredit him, ever. I just took it with a grain of salt, and I just smiled. That's just how I am. I'm not one to front you and go, no, you didn't do that. So you guys didn't interview that guy from behind the mask. No, I would never say anything. I just listened and just kind of go with the flow. So it came to the point where it was like, okay, well, if you say who you are, then let's just fight. So then everybody was, there's a thing on, I don't know if it's YouTube or wherever, but it's a guy dressed up in this Green Ranger suit, kind of belittling me, just, he's all tatted up, he's insecure, he's on so-called vitamins, assuming that I was on something else, and all this other stuff. And I watched it, and there was like 78 thumbs down on it. I got to tell you, I thought that was funny. I mean, I look at it, it's funny. It's like, I'm sorry, Austin St. John. I challenge you because I'm insecure, and it was ever since that shark monster, and I got tattoos and all this. And personally, I thought it was funny. So I don't think people can, of course I showed my wife, I was like, look at this guy kind of talking crap. But at the same time, I probably would have given him a thumbs up. So haters can be haters, but you only hate because you're not doing, and it's a fan page. It's called a fan page. If you're there to hate, you're going to get deleted. You're going to get chewed out. My fans will put a virus in your computer. I've got a lot of people that love me for who I am and how I communicate with people, not for, anything else. So that's why I tell people, before you post something nasty about Austin or anything on my fan page, you got to watch out, because I got a lot of good, loyal fans that you will be deleted in a heartbeat. And, we want to keep the page upbeat. I don't want to read no negative things. Do I read negative things and sad things from fans? Yes, but I pump them up, tell them to hold their head up high. Today's going to be a new day. And I think it's important to have role models like that. Like, I love Joel Osteen. He's got a good message, even though he doesn't, preach a lot of biblical theories or quotes, but he's a motivational speaker. And I get motivated when I hear him. And I did a Q&A in Fanboy Expo, and I thought the biggest compliment was from a guy who said, hey, can I talk to you? And you inspired me. You motivated me. And he was so fired up to get back to his drawing, and he's passionate about it, and that's what it's about. If you make one fan happy and, one fan disappointed for what you say, it's because they're not hearing your message. They just want to hear and look, and some people just don't want you to do good. And everybody experiences that, and I guarantee you guys experience that too. There's just people that just don't want to see you do well. That's not me. So we just try to weed all those people out of the industry, and we just keep moving ahead, and success is the biggest revenge for the people that hate you. And at the same time, silence. It's great to get on top of the mountain and never say, look what I did, ha, ha, ha. You can say it in other ways, but just be speechless about it, and they'll understand the point.
I have one last question for the show, because I know we're taking up a lot of your time, and it's just sort of a general question. But it seems like, I mean, I'm just going to assume that you were into martial arts before you're into acting. How did you get the Power Rangers gig? How did that happen?
Well, I've always been in martial arts ever since I was 4. I owned a couple schools at the time. I had long hair, believe it or not. I was rocking a ponytail back in the days, all right? Went to an agency. They said, you have to cut that thing off. There is no one that's going to book you on a show with long hair. You need to look like the average kid from next door. And I was like, ugh. So I cut my hair, went back to the agency. They would not represent me. They said, well, we're booking a Coke commercial. We're too busy. And I was kind of upset. I was like, look, you made me cut my hair. I'm not leaving without something. And they pretty much gave me the audition, which was called Phantoms, and said, here, we're even take this. And Phantoms was the audition for Power Rangers. So it was called Phantoms at the time, about 5 kids. And I booked the show, grew my hair back out, and that was that. Of course, the agency tried suing me afterwards, saying, well, that was our money, and we busted. No, you guys didn't want me. You remember? Oh, well, so I won that lawsuit. So, it was just, that's how I booked it. But it was again, my martial arts skills, acting was, kind of tough for me, and I learned that. But and I learned acting, just be yourself. You can't really teach someone to have charisma. Either you have charisma or you don't. But I had the martial arts, definitely, and I was flipping off tables, just kind of like one of the episodes, The Star is Born. It's kind of what I did to get Power Rangers, So I booked it and helped Twee do a kata routine for her to book the Yellow Ranger, and then I guess the rest was history. I was hired for 10 episodes only, and turned out to be, look how much it turned out to be. I was pretty much in and out. I was supposed to be out of Power Rangers 10 episodes later, and I was never to return.
I don't want to take up any more time. I do have a small favor to ask you. Is there any way you can give a shout-out to my mom?
Denise, just wanted to shout out, say thank you for obviously raising a good son. And, thank you for letting them watch Power Rangers, because a lot of parents back then, I think, were kind of, thought Power Rangers was violence, which I have a different theory on that. But just want to thank you for being a great mom, and thanks for supporting, and thanks for watching me on the show. And that's it. But thanks for watching. Thanks for everything. If any fans want more information regarding anything about me, you can go to the fan book page, which is Jason David Frank official fan page. I always post things. In fact, there's personal things I post with me and my wife, skydiving things. You kind of know a little bit about my life and what I go through. Some of the stuff I don't post is what we go through sometimes in life. I like to get back up, and get on a positive note. Very, very little ups and downs, but we all go through that. So, sometimes when I am on a down, I will read something from a fan that will lift me up. So sometimes people got to lift each other up, in life. And that's kind of like what my wife does is, it takes 2 people to go down a good, righteous road. And when one falls, you got to lift each other up and say, hey, what are you doing? Don't be stupid, So, but if anybody wants any information, they can come on Facebook, and I'll be happy to give them anything.